Okay, I'm not really sure what happened there, so I apologize. And I was talking for a while before I realized that it wasn't recording anymore. So we were on number 14. The football team has only varied 7 points from their average of 21 points per game. That's supposed to be inequality, showing the range of possible scores the football team has had this season. So, what I was saying is maybe some of you recognize that anytime we're talking about varying points and writing an inequality and looking for a range, it's always going to be kind of set up in this format where we take the absolute value of x minus the midpoint and then put it less than or equal to, and it would be like how much it varies by. So some of you may have said, oh, I know exactly how to do this. I'm going to take x minus the midpoint, which is their average of 21 points per game, and then less than or equal to 7. If you leave it like that, that is definitely okay because that was the inequality, but it wasn't showing the range. So most likely, if it were a multiple choice question, you would most likely want to solve that. We know that the absolute value is less than, so it's an and type. So we're going to have two choices, two ranges, I should say. So let me solve these. Notice that I did reverse my inequality sign and made it opposite over here. So let me just go through. So one answer is all of the numbers less than negative or less than 28, and x is everything greater than or equal to, and this would be 14 here, all of the numbers greater than or equal to 14. So on a number line, 0, 14, 28, it would be everything between and including 28 to 14, which would be the inequality, all of the numbers less than or equal to 21 and at the same time greater than or equal to 14. So this would most likely be the inequality. Some of you may have just known that right off the bat. Some of you may have just said, oh, well, I just subtracted 7 from both sides or from the 21 and then added the 7 to 21, and that's how you came up with your range, and that's absolutely fine because quite honestly, that is what I did here, but I'm showing you the rationale behind it, why it would become that inequality. Number 5, 1/2 a number increased by 3 is greater than 0 or less than or equal to -3. So I'm just going to convert it. 1/2 a number increased by 3 is greater than 0 or 1/2 a number increased by 3 is less than or equal to -3. And there is my compound. Write an absolute value inequality. So we're not writing it as a compound inequality. We are choosing to write it as the compound inequality. So this is where we're going to start with x, subtract the midpoint. So the midpoint of those two numbers would be -3, which is actually going to turn it into a +3 because of the change, the minus and the negative. And then it would be less than or equal to if I was talking about this range here, but I'm talking about the numbers on the outside. So instead of using a less than or equal to, I'm going to have to change that, to the exact opposite, which is greater than. The reason that it couldn't be greater than or equal to is because they're not filled in. And so then on either side of this, I'm going to put 1 because that's how many units there are from the midpoint on either side. So there's my absolute value inequality. So here's another one like that, x minus the midpoint. So the midpoint is going to be the number 5. That's 1, 2, 3 from the 8, and then 1, 2, 3 from the 2. So 5 is my midpoint. We are talking about the range or the numbers in between. So I'm going to use my normal less than or equal to because they're filled in. And then 3 because that was the distance or the varying amount. And last but not least, number 18. A carpentry shop makes wall panels that are 3 meters wide. The panels need to be no more than 5 thousandths meters wider or narrower than that in order to fit. So again, we're still writing the absolute value inequality. So I'm going to take x minus the midpoint, which in this case is the 3. We are talking about the distance in between those, the range. So anytime we're talking about the inside part, the range of them, we're going to use our less than or equal to, and then 0.005. And I don't need to have that 0 in the front. Now, last but not least, so before a piece of steel can be sold for its maximum price, it must be 35 feet long with an absolute error of 1 foot. The range or ranges of unacceptable heights of steel to sell at maximum price. So x minus the midpoint, which is the 35 feet long. And this time I am not going to use less than or equal to because I want the unacceptable. So less than or equal to would represent the range of acceptable. I'm looking for the unacceptable, so I have to use the exact opposite. So I'm going to have to use greater than, not greater than or equal to, because the acceptable has the equal to part. So I have to do the numbers that aren't. So basically, acceptable looks like this. And unacceptable is going to be these going on the outside. So then I'm going to just say 1 because that is the varying amount or the absolute error. All right, there is the video solutions for part 2.